Hello and thanks for watching. In this tutorial I'm going to show how to make these little visibility switches. They're just used to make things appear and reappear within an animation. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is delete the default cube. Go to front view and put the cursor in the center. Add a single bone armature. Click over here on the armature properties. And under display, change that to be a B bone and check X-ray. Tab to edit mode on the bone. Grab it along the Z axis and let's just make it into a little square. Now I'm going to duplicate the bone so that we have two bones with the same location. Let's name the armature visibility switch. And then let's name one bone. So click on this little picture of a bone. Let's name one bone base and then name the other bone switch. Okay, so we have two bones with the exact same location. If you right click on the two bones, it will alternate selecting whichever one. So we have the base and we have the switch. Now I'm gonna use bone layers. So I'm gonna move the base. So see right here, the base is selected. It also shows you right here. I'm gonna press M and I'm gonna move that down to the layer below it. So now we only have switch because you can see here that and here that we're only looking at the top first layer of the bones. Let's check protected layer also. So this is going to make it so that we cannot edit the layer that has our base bone on it. Oh, and also let's rename the armature up here in the outliner to visibility switch. So now we have the armature named visibility switch and we have a data block named visibility switch. All right, let's take the bone back into object mode. And now we need an object. Let's add the object, cursor to center, and let's add a mesh monkey. So we're going to add a mesh monkey. Let's scale it down so it's about the same size as the square. I'm going to grab it along the Z axis and I'm going to apply its location, rotation, and scale. Normally I would use like an icon of an eyeball, but just for the sake of speed, we're going to just use Suzanne for this. Now, while with the armature in object mode, let's parent Suzanne to the bone. So click Suzanne, hold shift, and then click the bone, or it's Control P. So set the parent to the object. So now when I move the armature, the little monkey head goes with it. We're in the default screen layout. We want to go from the default screen layout to the animation screen layout. So in this little drop down, go from default to animation. And let's see. So the visibility, we're going to drive the visibility of this monkey head. So visibility switch is our little rig that we're using as a visibility switch. Open that up by clicking this little plus and select Suzanne. Suzanne is the monkey. So when you check this eyeball, Suzanne disappears. That's what we want to drive. So right click the eyeball, click add driver, and select manually create later. So right click the eyeball, add driver, manually create later. So select Suzanne, and then in this window, this is the This is the graph editor window. Change this from F-curve to driver. So in the graph editor window, change this little thing to say from F-curve to driver. And then uncheck this arrow. The arrow says only include channels relating to selected objects. So with that arrow checked, when you select other objects, the drivers will disappear. So I'm going to uncheck that so that the driver will always stay visible in the graph editor. I'm also going to click on this little picture of a ghost. The ghost says include channels from objects or bones that are not visible. So what happens is, without this ghost selected, if Suzanne disappears, then you can't see the driver in the graph window. But if you click on the ghost, now even though Suzanne is invisible, you can still see her driver. So what we want for the end result is we want to be able to select this armature, hit Control-Tab to go into pose mode, and we want to be able to move this bone over by a little bit like a switch and have the monkey head disappear. Before we do that, I want to put a constraint on this bone just so that the only place it moves is from here to there, and so that it isn't able to like move all over the place. So under bone constraints over here on the right, click on this little picture of a bone with like a little picture of a chain, and you'll get the bone constraints window. Open that up and choose limit location. So Y is back and forth. We don't want that to move at all. Z is up and down. We don't want that to move either. X is left to right. So we want it to stay minimum 0, and to the right we want it to be 0.2. And also check for transform and check local space. So 0, 0.2, and then these are all zeros, and local space. So what that does is now when I grab this bone, it can only move from here to here like a switch. All right, let's make this graph window a little bit bigger. Okay, so we're pressing N to bring up this little sidebar in the graph editor window. Go from F-curve to drivers in this tab. The type of driver we want to use is a scripted expression. And so these are like the variables that are used to drive the driver value. So if the expression is 0, update dependencies, that means that Suzanne is visible. If the expression is 1, that means that Suzanne is invisible. So again, 0, you can see the monkey. 1, the monkey disappears. So what we want to do is when the distance between these two bones equals 1, that's when we want Suzanne to disappear. So bear with me. So we're going to type in VAR in our expression. So this is the expression, and its name is VAR. This is what we're going to use to drive it. So this is the type of expression. Change that to distance. So it's named var. Its type got changed from transform channel to distance. So now what that's doing is the distance between these two objects is going to give us a value, and then that value is going to be used for the driver. So for the first object, choose visibility switch, which is an armature. So pick the bone base. And then the next one, visibility switch, and the bone is going to be switch. So now when we move this bone over a little bit, it's only able to move 0.2. I didn't want to have to move it a whole one Blender unit over because that would be like way over here. So anyway, so now that our value is 0.2, that means that var is 0.2. So we need to multiply var times 5. So 0.2 times 5 equals 1. So I'm going to type var times 5 for our expression. And notice Suzanne disappeared. So now when the bone is near the base, its value is 0. When you move it away from the base until it's 0.2 away, the 0.2 gets multiplied by 5, equaling 1, telling Suzanne's visibility to go away or become false. All right, so now we have a switch that makes Suzanne disappear. That's cool. So what can we do with it? Let's go back to the default view. And let's take this armature into object mode. So when you move the armature around, Suzanne will go with it. All right, let's say we have 5 objects and we want to make them disappear or reappear at different points throughout our animation. So let's add 5 objects. A cube, and let's add a spear. Let's add icosphere. Oops. And let's add a, let's see, cylinder and another cylinder. Okay. So this is our little, oops, here's our little switch. All right, so we need 5 switches to make one of each 5 objects appear or reappear. Press B to box select your switch armature and your Suzanne head. Shift D. Now let's bring this switch over to the spear. Shift D to duplicate it again. And so we're going to have 5 little switches. The first thing we want to do is make this cube disappear with this first. Oops, we got to hit Control Tab to put it into pose mode. So now we want to be able to make this cube disappear. Select Suzanne, and I'm going to open up the outliner. So this is visibility switch, the original one. The 4 new ones that we made are now named visibility switch 001, 2, 3, and 4. So open up visibility switch number 1, find Suzanne, the little pink eye, hit copy driver. Now go to the cube. The cube is what we want to make appear and reappear. So go to the eye, right click, and say paste driver. Now, when Suzanne disappears, so will the cube, hopefully. Let's see, we might have to go back to animation, select the cube, and hit update dependencies. Now it disappears. So if it doesn't work right away, go back to animation mode, go back to your graph editor, select the cube, find the cube's visibility driver, and hit update dependencies. The other thing, I think, let's see, let's try it on the spear. So now we want this switch to control the spear. So this is visibility switch 001, Suzanne 001, and copy that driver, find the sphere and paste the driver. Let's see. Oops. Okay, so we want to take this armature into pose mode. Now, let's see. Okay, you know what? I think hitting play. So option A is play in your timeline. If you do that, it will make the, oh, it didn't. Oh, it did. Okay. So pressing play, no, it's not working. Sometimes you gotta, it's just not updating. Is this one updating? Yeah, so what do you gotta do? I think you just gotta go to this window and you just gotta update the dependencies for each one. So let's see. Okay, now it works. All right, so for the next one, this is visibility switch 002. Here's Suzanne. Copy that driver. Go to icosphere and paste the driver. Let's go to the next one. This is visibility switch 003. So Suzanne 003. Copy the driver. Go to the first cylinder. Paste the driver. And let's do the same thing for this last one. Oops. So essentially what we're doing is for every object that we want to make disappear and reappear, we're going to copy this head and this armature, and it's going to create an original version of it with its original with a new driver that you can copy from the Suzanne head to the object that you want to make disappear. Another thing, I think what you can do is you can save it, and then you can open it. Oops. So make sure when you select your switch that you hit Control Tab to go into pose mode. Yeah, okay, so if you save the file and then reopen it, you don't have to go in and update the dependencies. Hello, so now we have 5
Hello, and thank you for watching.
Switches. In this tutorial, I'm going to show how to make this 5 different things that can be used to make an object appear or disappear. So essentially, it's just an animation with another little object that carries the driver. So you can duplicate appear at a certain copy the driver. Click on this little record button object to the other object that you want to make the keying set of location. Hello, and thanks for watching. In this tutorial, I'm going to show how to make these little visibility switches. They're just used to make things appear and reappear within an animation. So let's get started. Cube at frame 10, we'll see a sphere. At frame 15, we'll see an icosphere. At frame 20, we'll see a cylinder. And at frame 25, we'll see another cylinder. Let's make a 30 frame animation. Hey. Oh, okay. So the reason why it's not working is because this is because of tweening. So see how these switches are kind of like, they're not just moving back and forth, they're like slowly moving. What you want to do is go to your animation window again, change this from drivers to F-curve, select all of them. So in this window, just hit in the 3D window, you can hit A, I think. So anyway, select everything, hit key, interpolation type, constant. Now, when you choose constant, it just is one or the other. It doesn't add, it doesn't do that tweening thing where it adds frames in between. And now we've got 5 things. Okay, so again, when you are animating things like switches, you don't want it to have a Bezier curve. You don't want it to do tweening, which is like adding the frame in between the 2 spots. So you want to select all of those and change the interpolation mode to constant. So instead of it being like a curve, it just goes from one to the other. All right. So there you go. Thank you for watching.